This morning, I'll try to talk about the Philippines as a maritime nation, um, looking at the opportunities and the challenges more from a contemporary standpoint. Okay, so the outline of my presentation is I'll start with I think a lot of these points have already been covered by the previous two speakers. So I'll just breeze through them. So the sea is of course a blessing and a curse for the country, and so I'll try to outline the gains we got from the bounty of the sea, as well as the challenges and the risks and the threats associated with it. And then I'll talk about the revival of the significance of the sea um, as far as connectivity is concerned. And this is a uh, growing importance in recent years, not only from the Philippines, but also for other countries in light of increased trade and linkages between more and more countries. And then third, touch on efforts being made by government in recent years to try to protect the sea, and then close by um, outlining some of the approaches undertaken to try to address, manage, or handle the existing disputes, notably in the West Philippine Sea. So, the previous two distinguished speakers already highlighted the importance of the sea. Early on, going back to the period of our ancestors, as far as food and livelihood is concerned, and trade as well, people-to-people linkages, travel. In modern times, of course, the sea has also been lined up with submarine cables to improve internet, telecom services, and also increasingly a source of offshore energy. Now, on the risks and the threat side, um, overfishing, or as well as the illegal, unregulated, and unreported fishing is a growing concern, not only for Philippine waters, but also globally. Marine pollution and litter, this is also a problem. Philippines being listed as one of the major contributors to this tragedy. Oil spill, we had experiences with this, like the one in Guimaras previous years. Climate change, um, rising sea level, and its impact on fishing communities, the changing the salinity, the temperature, all of this will have effect on people and industries that are dependent on the sea. And of course, maritime disputes, which we'll talk about a bit later. And then also the maritime domain emerging as a theater for great power competition of late. Now, this is the a depiction of the waters where the Philippines can be found. The red lines correspond to shipping lanes, whereas the green lines represent the air routes. So both the seascape, the surface of the sea, and the airspace above the sea are important passageways for air travel as well as for commercial navigation. And this has been going on in the past, and this continues to go. In fact, there's more connections by sea and by air facilitated through these passageways. And we talk about the submarine cables. So it connects Americas to Asia, and this series of cables, we can find a lot of this works on the north of Luzon and on the south of Taiwan. So we see that strait, that Luzon Strait, very important for submarine cable and for telecoms. And also for offshore energy, many of the country's offshore energy resources, oil and gas, are located on the West Philippine Sea, west of Palawan, and a few in the Sulu Sea. and in the Visayas Sea. So the sea is an important source of energy for the country. Of course, we have issues on the West Philippine Sea that, in a way, constrains our ability to harness resources in that area. But we'll talk about that a bit later. Um, Also, wind farm. There are proposals for the country to. There are existing windmills already, like in Ilocos and in Rizal, but there are plans to expand production of wind energy and to try to connect it with the grid to make sure that energy from this resource can be used more thoroughly. And the revival of the sea significance for as far as connectivity is concerned. The attention on the sea is growing, not only for countries, coastal states like the Philippines, but also for major powers. Again, for 250 years in the past, the Philippines has been the entrepot, the center for trade that links Asia, the Americas, and Europe. So the Manila-Acapulco galleon trade that has been mentioned by previous speakers, um, with Manila allowing the entry of Chinese goods, including porcelain ware, and spices, and goods from Southeast Asia, going into the New World to Mexico, and from there to Sevilla in Spain. So this is one of the earliest major, trans international trade, where the Philippines played a very important role. And it is no coincidence that the first and the oldest Chinatown in the world is in Manila, Binondo, which today remains a very important hub for commerce. Um, Fast forward to the present times, China becoming the world's second largest economy, and by all indications, keen to become the world's biggest economy in the coming years, had embarked on the Belt and Road Initiative. It's a massive multi-year project to connect with neighboring countries and as far afield as Africa. And one component of that is the 21st Century Maritime Silk Road, which was announced in Jakarta in 2013 during a visit by President Xi Jinping. So this goes to show the importance being attached by our big northern neighbor and an emerging powerhouse economy to the sea. And other countries have also stepped in. Japan also launched its own concept of an Indo-Pacific back in 2013 also. So they're looking increasingly at the importance of the South China Sea, the Strait of Malacca, these critical waterways as crucial for Japan's trade and energy supply. US also came up with the free and open Indo-Pacific back in 2017. Although it's stronger on the security side, but we see also the importance they attach to freedom of navigation in overflight. For ASEAN, the ASEAN also came up with its own vision of the Indo-Pacific in 2019, but on the ground, we see a growing realization now to improve inter-island connectivity through RORO, or the roll-on, the roll-off ferry. And this would boost connectivity in the insular or the maritime part of Southeast Asia, which includes the Philippines, Brunei, Indonesia, Malaysia, and the Philippines. That's BIMP, IAGA, East Asia Growth Area. So BIMP IAGA is a sub-regional organization launched in Davao in '94 under the Ramos administration. This is a very important organization because it wants to promote trade, connectivity, and linkages between the four countries that are part of this. And it's also part and parcel of the larger master plan for ASEAN connectivity 2025. And a portion of the ASEAN RORO connectivity for BIMP IAGA had already been launched back in 2017. The Davao General Santos in Mindanao, connecting with Bitung in Sulawesi, has already been rolled out, but there had been concerns about the sustainability of the trade because the infrastructure and the market has still to be improved. So it was stopped in 2017. It was resumed in 2019, and then recently it was again, there were proposals to expand the trade to cover larger areas to improve the viability of the trade route. And so beyond Davao Jensen Bitung, other routes are also being explored, one of which is Muara in Brunei Darussalam, connecting with the city of Zamboanga, also in Mindanao. There were also proposals to connect Palawan. The municipality of Batarasa just completed a new port called Buliluyan, to connect with the Kudat in Sabah. Uh, of course, beyond the concern about the viability of the trade, security has also been raised, and the Palawan Sabah route is still, I think, pending because of concerns about the security side. So this brings us to efforts being made by government to try to protect the seas. So there have been some, uh, of course, the capability development, the modernization of our frontline maritime agencies, notably the Coast Guard, the Philippine Navy, and the Air Force, is very crucial for in the country's shift from internal security, from counterinsurgency going into territorial and maritime defense. Of course, with these new assets and increased number of personnel, we are able to field in more maritime patrols and air patrols in areas that we consider as ours, including those being contested by our neighbors in the West Philippine Sea. We have also upgraded our facilities in the rocks and the features that we claim as part of our territory in the West Philippine Sea, notably Pagasa. It's our largest feature in that area. We had put up a new harbor, a marine science station, as well as a Coast Guard station. Now, there were plans. I think work is already underway to improve the airstrip there, the Rancudo airfield. And there were also this year, there were proposals to make Pagasa Island the logistics hub to provide supplies to other part of the Kalayaan Island group. Of course, a recent incident involving Ayungin raised the importance of having a more proximate source of supplies. Uh, Instead of supplies being sourced from Puerto Princesa and Palawan, if Pagasa can be made to accommodate larger supplies, store larger supplies, then it's better. It's easier. It's closer to other stations that we have, outposts in that area. Also, the country has also been investing in sustaining and deepening its partnerships with allies and partners in the areas of joint training and exercises and support for maritime capacity building. So the U.S. has a maritime security initiative whereby it provides assets, including decommissioned assets, to littoral states like Philippines and Vietnam. Japan in recent years had also provided loans to build Coast Guard ships for the country. And so these kinds of mechanisms allow the country to improve its ability to guard and protect its seas. And in relation to the security issues in our deep south, the Philippines, Indonesia, and Malaysia in 2017 agreed to to do joint air and maritime patrols in the adjoining Sulawesi seas, and this contributed in reducing the incidence of maritime piracy as well as armed robbery and sea kidnapping, which has been a source of embarrassment for the Philippines and a source of concern for our closer neighbors, Indonesia and Malaysia. So these are just some of the assets, platforms that the Philippine Navy, Philippine Coast Guard, Philippine Air Force had acquired in recent years from 2016 onwards. So we see that we have commissioned new assets. Of course, the crown jewel are the two new multi-role modern frigates from Korea, built by Hyundai Heavy Industries. And the Philippines had also set its sights in acquiring submarines. Of course, the pandemic affected that plan, and there's a possibility that it may be put in abeyance, may be postponed until such time that our economy recovered to allow us to purchase such expensive item. So now I would go to some of the peaceful approaches being pursued by the Philippines in relation to a maritime row with neighbors. So the Philippines and Indonesia Maritime Boundary Delimitation Agreement stands out. It's the first of its kind that the Philippines entered into. This allows the Philippines to delimit its southern waters with that of Indonesia. And this MBD took 20 painstaking years of negotiations to bore fruit. This only goes to show how difficult, trying to address, boundary, sovereignty and sovereign waters. And so it was signed in 2014, but only entered into force in 2019. We have opened similar negotiations with other countries, also in relation to maritime boundary delimitation, including again with Indonesia and also with Palau, because we have a tri-junction boundary, and also with Japan. This month, we have also revived a past joint marine scientific research expedition with Vietnam. We have undertaken this joint marine science effort with Hanoi back in '96. So it ran from '96 to 2007. And then in 2007, China joined. So it became a tripartite arrangement. But unfortunately, because of the leadership change in the Philippines, among other factors, this was discontinued. So it's a welcome relief that this kind of effort to promote marine scientific research cooperation among coastal states on the south, bordering the South China Sea, is being revived at this time. In 2018, the Philippines and China, when President Xi Jinping visited Manila, both countries signed an MOU, or a Memorandum of Understanding, to promote oil and gas cooperation, again in the West Philippine Sea. This is not unprecedented. We had entered into a similar arrangement back in 2004 under the Arroyo administration, where it started as a bilateral also between Philippines and China. And then the next year, in 2005, Vietnam also joined. So it became, again, a tripartite arrangement to undertake seismic work in the West Philippine Sea. In the 2005 JMSU, the Joint Marine Seismic Research, did not was discontinued also. Again, the leadership transition from the Arroyo to the Aquino administration. And of course, there were perceptions about concern about China, which we can touch a bit also later, maybe in the open forum if there's time. And then finally, there's also the Philippines-Taiwan arrangement on concerning maritime law enforcement on in the waters north of Luzon, in the islands of the waters around Batanes and Babuyan Islands. So the Taiwan and the Philippines have overlapping EEZs. So in 2012, there's been an incident where one elderly Taiwanese fisherman died when the boat where he is in was fired upon by personnel of the Philippine Coast Guard, and this caused a diplomatic row between Manila and Taipei. And a few years after that, both sides decided to talk about how to prevent, such incidents from taking place, and hence this arrangement. So some of the concluding thoughts, because time is running out. Again, the maritime domain, the seas, is very important for the country. It's a constant, so there's nothing we can do about it. We have to live with it. Our strategy can adjust, to meet the changing times. We cannot change our geography, but we can change. We can adjust how we look at it, how we appreciate it, and how we respond to the challenges that comes with it. So we should try to make the most of our seas, extract energy resources, fisheries resources, make it safe for navigation and so on. But we also have to be prepared to confront the challenges, not least from the maritime disputes angle. Policy continuity has been a challenge. So we see there have been efforts in the past, uh, noble efforts to try to address our issues with our coastal neighbors, but eventually in the leadership transition, they fell apart, and then we have to go back to square one again. And so this is a concern that we have to be watchful for. And as we all know, we have upcoming elections in May of next year, and there's a possibility that some of the policies adopted by the current or the previous administration may be discontinued or continued, by the next leadership. So we'll see. So on that note, I'll end, and I'll be happy to take part in the dialogue. Thank you.